Deal is this. Tell you, when I was a kid, that read Dropper Anton Wilson, all this real. Tell you, when I was a kid, that read Dropper Anton Wilson, all this real. Dude, I'm pissed. Dude, I'm pissed. Come on. What? Okay, by the time we finish this, you're all going to be practicing magicians.
I'm Jeremy Greer.
And I'm Gary Butterfield.
And this is Days of Future Cast, the podcast where Gary and I talk about the X-Men. We are here to talk about the conclusion of the Assault on Weapon Plus arc in the new X-Men, written by Grant Morrison. We're going to be... Weapon 20 is the goal, Gary. I want us to get to weapon all the way to Weapon 20.
Trying to
make
get
that happen.
Yeah, just go all the way. There's a weapon soft cap at 15.
Oh.
After that, you only get like half the stat return. So,
what a bummer!
What a bummer! And yeah, so we're in space now.
Yes,
it's going to be a space station story where all the big ideas about like this is big idea on top of big idea on top of big idea. There's a weird like the last three arcs of this storyline of this run are kind of like these big idea pileups like this. And I think that's one of the, I think that most people, and I'm not speaking for you and I'm not speaking for me in this, do find the end of this run to be less good, than the beginning of it in general. And I think part of it is that element. Like we are now in like, let's get all the ideas out because the world, is already this cool idea. But now we find out that it's actually part of a breeding program to make the Justice League, except as Sentinels, to make a public facing Sentinel Justice League.
Yeah. This is like
which is
vaguely
super
the
cool.
boys, right? Like
yeah, the boys are like the Authority.
The Authority, yeah, another good example.
Yeah.
It's I think specifically, and we'll talk a lot about this as we get to that last run. Like, Grant Morrison is known for his huge ideas, some of which are understandable, some of which are not. Like, we mentioned a couple of episodes ago, The Invisibles, which is a comic that I've always struggled to get through, but it's because I don't understand what the fuck is going on. Like, and I just need to power through and get to the point where I would be able to understand what that is.
Like the broad strokes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But sometimes, like, I think when people come to X-Men, like, they want some of those big ideas, but if you have too many of them at one time, it just becomes kind of a mess. And I'll be interested. I've obviously finished the series, but I haven't gone back. And I finished it again when we first started. Like, I couldn't stop myself, but now I'm kind of reading as we do episodes. And I'll be interested with what my final thoughts on that last arc are, because it's like, this is still to the point where I understand everything that's going on.
Yep.
Even if sometimes like the art can be a little flaky, although that goes away with this issue for the most part. But like later on, like it's a real struggle to figure out, like, especially when you have like unreliable narrators and things like that happening, where it's like, what the fuck is actually real and on the page? Like, what am I looking at?
So this will be the third time. So when I just read the last arc, the Here Comes Tomorrow arc, it was the third time I've read it. And this is the first time I felt like I understood everything that was happening as it was happening.
Oh, good. Okay. So.
And it made a big difference. Like, there'll be a little bit of podcast as service when we do those, because I know people who have read this arc once who are just like, I don't know what the fuck is going on at all in that last couple issues. I got you, fam. Like, I know exactly what is happening during the Here Comes Tomorrow arc of New X-Men. It's, some of it's not satisfying, but I know what happened, but it took time. It took repeating. Which is not like a great sign, because like E is for Extinction goes down immediately smooth. I think that's like a great, like almost beginner X-Men arc.
Yes.
Like you want to have that context, but it's like, that is a great onboarding, and the offboarding is not as strong in this run at all. And this arc and in the next arc as well, which there are more big ideas in the next arc than I initially thought, like reading it again with this kind of critical and close eye, like I'm picking up some new stuff from it that maybe I didn't pick up the first time, and that's been nice as well. And it just being the third time I've read it, but it's dense. Like those big ideas are all things that I love Grant Morrison for. I would not trade it for anything. But it is a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Like most good swords, you know? Like,
if it's just a single-edged sword, then that's like an axe, right?
Get that saber the fuck out of here, man.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
I don't have time for this, Aladdin. Get the fuck out.
Yeah, fuck this kookery.
Like, what are you, some kind of prince of Persia? Like, wow.
Enough of this. Yeah, Persia. What a funny name. Yeah. So this issue starts with every one of these is started with a foot. In the beginning of it. So just for Jeremy, little treat for daddy.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And this one starts out with Weapon 15's foot in space, where he's asking, what is the purpose of life?
Yes. And like he's been told his entire life that, you know, there is no world outside of the world. But now he has broken through the barriers of his previous life. He's gone to space, and like now he's essentially looking at his God, and looking at his creation.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a Borg-looking spaceship that's like in the asteroid belt. So super cool.
He's making his way in, basically monologuing, you know, and having this existential crisis. Like there are too many questions. There's too much emptiness, too much everything. All of it's mine, but that's too much. I need someone to tell me what to do, as he floats into this spaceship.
Yes.
And when he does, he's greeted by the Weapon Plus like administration here.
Yeah. And they're just like, hey, welcome home. Like, don't worry. He's not going to go crazy. He's just a little confused. You know, the mutants obliterated the world colony when he was born. Like they're still trying to do the brainwashing thing as he makes his way through this like control area and downstairs into what looks like a holding cell for other weapon programs, and it looks like there's a bunch of mutants and weird like floaty goo stuff. Some of them with bits, some of them without bits. Like you just don't know what you're going to get to in this Weapon X program. Yeah,
you never know where fingers are going to come and how many you're going to get.
Yeah.
I love this. The two admins like arguing. One of them's like, "It's inside now, sir. Can we evacuate?" Like, and it's walking around not really paying attention to them.
Yeah.
Which I love, until they eventually ask him a question. Like they're telling him all this propaganda, like you're part of this biological arms race, you know, until they eventually say, "Can you remember your primary function?" And he goes, "Destroy all mutants," with a question mark, which I fucking love. Like, you know, the Weapon 15 I would have wanted more of in all axes, like not just more content, but also just a little bit more presence. Because I think the idea of like a baby Superman waking up and you know, being confused by this is all very cool.
Yes. Outside, our boys, our crew, Wolverine, Logan, and Phantom X is in Phantom X's nervous system called EVA. They're flying up to the space station. I'm really unhappy that every time there's a shot outside in space, like there's just like rocks floating everywhere. It just really irritates the shit out of me. I don't know why. It feels like
nonstop debris.
Yeah, we made this joke last, but like, you know, PlayStation 5, like all candles everywhere. But I mean, it's just very much like that.
Like the PlayStation 5, like every video game level is like going through a Bed Bath and Beyond.
Yes, exactly.
In terms of candle content, or a Bath and Body Works, like Bath and Body Works : Yarnum edition.
If you play No Man's Sky on PS5, you just have 7 jillion Marios on every planet.
Yeah.
Like it's amazing, all independently animated and smiling and yelling at you at the same time.
Yeah, because that's what we want in the future, is a constant maximal like overstimulation.
I just want all Marios all the time.
Oops, all Marios. Mario 128. So they're going in here. Cyclops is still wrestling with why it didn't kill him, and Phantom X is pushing the side like you're complaining. And there's this great little bit where like Cyclops says, "I always wondered what you got to outside of X-Men hours, Logan. Now I know. Also, X jacket's off. The professor wouldn't want to be associated with vandalism of this scale."
Excuse me?
Yeah, Scott's still gonna Scott. That.
Logan's response of whatever as he's taking his jacket off is very good. Also, boys, you have X's all over your body. Like, I don't think it's just the jacket. Like,
it's not the jacket. Yeah.
You're a guy with the visor, and you're another dude with 3 adamantium unbreakable claws. I think everybody knows who you are, fam. Like, you're not fooling anybody. There's
an awesome, like, if the comics run of this goes on long enough, you know, because there's a lot of things that would be cooler to get to before this. But I have a weakness for the Dark X-Men. Thing from Dark Reign, because it was basically playing on the fact that the public wouldn't know that. So they have like Dark Beast and they have Wolverine, but it's actually Daken who has like 2 claws. But it's like the public doesn't know. It's just a guy dressed up as Wolverine, so they'll believe that's Wolverine. You know, it's a really clever like little bit to me.
So they're going to invade this fortress, and they come in swinging, and Fantomex just starts murdering the staff. He says that there's 15 armed targets, and they immediately kill like 8 or 10 of them.
Yep.
And then they start planning charges everywhere because like Fantomex is here to shut this down, to blow it up, not to fuck around. But also here is a computer that has the missing Weapon X files or Weapon 10 files, and that's where Logan's going to spend most of his time this issue.
Yep. You have 10 minutes to browse. This is your life. And it's I love it. It's on this huge like 72-point font on a mega monitor. So the audience can read it as well. It's like the Doogie Howser computer.
I love it.
And it starts like, since the dawn of the mutants, humankind has searched for ways to match their uncanny powers. Like this is like Stan Lee wrote this.
Yes.
Which actually makes tons of sense because based on what this thing is. But I really love it. Like this would be the intro to the Omega Sentinels or the Super Sentinels comic book, basically.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
we see we're going to see like the progression of the weapon programs. We talked a little bit about that a few episodes ago, but like we're going to actually see some of that in the issue now, which is pretty cool. But the other armed targets show up and they have to deal with that first. And Wolverine is completely ignoring the violence and chaos behind him as Cyclops and Fantomex like murder these fools. When just staring at, again, the 72-point font screen, looking at dudes with the American flag painted on his face.
Yeah, Nuke. So Captain America, Weapon 1. Nuke was them trying to use criminals to repeat the Captain America thing. They created Nuke, I think is this guy's name. I've never read a comic with him, but I think that's his name. And they're like, hey, we gotta go, Logan. And Logan basically just says like, go on. Like, I gotta see this stuff. I'll catch up with you. Like basically just dismissing them and saying he wants to stay here reading the computer. While this is happening, this kind of crack sound comes and EVA is attacked by something. Spikes. I don't really know what's happening here.
Metal spears with like little hooks on them, like it's it almost looks like fishing hooks that have been straightened.
Sure.
And there's a lot of them. Yeah.
This is a really good illustration of like bad art decisions in this, and this is actually the colorist, I would say. Because by bathing, EVA has a bunch of like just tendrils coming off of it all the time. By bathing the harpoons in the same light that comes off of EVA, it's like hard at a glance to know exactly what's happening. Yes. Those harpoons should have been a much darker color, or like bright like yellow or something, like something that stands in contrast with blue. And again, this could just be colorblind, Gary, but like to me, this panel does not read very well. On first glance, you have to like look at it too much, which is not what you want for something that's like actiony and percussive.
Yeah, and there's some of the lines that are coming like from the orb section in the middle, like they just go into the thing, and I guess like they're supposed to come out the other side, but it also vaguely looks like motion lines at the same time. And
exactly.
It's just very difficult to determine. Like you have to sit here and look at it and go, oh, they just had like 15 random spikes that come out in various angles. Like
from all directions from space.
Where did they park EVA? How did you
like it's just really weird. Why'd you put it in the middle of the dentist chair,
Well, there's this very tiny room that's just full of small holes with like gleaming spikes inside, but they don't seem like they come out. So I think we're good, guys. I think this is good.
I've never seen Raiders of the Lost Ark, monsieur.
This should happen to everybody that parks in a handicap spot without a sticker, right? Like this is the thing that should happen. One of the panels turns on, and it's the guy who runs Weapon X or the weapon program, and they say, "We know your weakness. Your nervous system is stored outside your body," and that's when Fantomex collapses, and he has to switch to his backup nervous system because Fantomex is going to Fantomex, and says he can only see in black and white, but he has to go save EVA, and they're like, "Hey, Logan, we need to get on this," and he's like, "Sure, I just got to my file though, so y'all just go ahead, and I'm going to use this laser pointer to click open file because this is how computer operating systems work."
On the mega computer here. While Cyclops and Fantomex are trying to continue to move on while Wolverine's ignoring them, they find the Justice League table for the Super Sentinels, which I love. Like they have this scary, like this was going to be our headquarters. Like I was supposed to be here. And we were going to set up here and target mutant S for extermination. And we get to see the different names for the different people. Like Huntsman was going to be Weapon 12. Automaton is Weapon 15, which is basically the Superman. And Fantomex was supposed to be like a Batman.
What if Automaton's power is just giving you variously like increasing in degree ultimatums? Yeah, just
like either this mutant kind goes or I do. But the idea that Fantomex was programmed to be a like Batman.
Yeah.
Like the whole time that we've dealt with Fantomex, where he's felt like not too good to be true, but felt like manufactured cool. Mm-hmm. This is an incredibly cool payoff for that.
Yeah.
Like he exactly was what people in this comic world thought comic book fans would think would be a cool, badass stealth character.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why he's felt so weird and uncanny.
This genetic cleansing operation disguised as a comic book fighting team. Right. Like,
yep.
and of course, like Scott is hearing this and like, so it is war. Like humans have never trusted us. They've always been actively been doing this, even though, the professor has revealed himself to be who he is. And we thought he was making inroads and like inviting humans to the campus and all this other stuff. Like, no, they were still like planning on murdering all of you and like getting the public's approval behind it. Like they were going to do a cartoon about it.
Scott has taken the black pill.
Yeah.
Like, this is the beginning of Black Pill Scott, which is what the last arc, like the fulcrum that it rests on.
Yeah. So they decide, hey, we got to go save EVA, and they find the hallway which is covered in presumably EVA blood, and they find
Goop.
It just
the spear room.
They found the spear room where they parked her, and like EVA just says "ouch," which is very funny.
Yeah. The Super Sentinels, it's and this the director of this has been taunting them, pops up and says the Super Sentinels, how does it sound corny? But it's corny, they understand. Again, this is marketing, he's kind of explaining like he was going to be the handler for the superhero team, which is really, really cool. And basically says how they designed Fantomex to be, to be the Batman, all these cool things to make you a character people would love. You have multiple brains for independent parallel processing, external nervous system, nanoactive blood, and an attitude. We gave you everything, but you chose to go faux French. A little joke there. And then they blow up EVA here.
Yes.
Kind of hard to tell exactly what's going on, but that hurts Fantomex quite a bit, of course.
Yes. He basically collapses and he can't really do anything. So Cyclops has to pick him up and run from him. And the handler guy is still talking, and he reveals not only like were they going to do all of this stuff, but they were going to love them for it. And also there was an informant within the Xavier Institute. And he's, like that way, and all of this was supposed to start in 2 weeks. Like this is when they were going to kick on this program. And it's still going to happen. The sleepers will wake from their tanks and mutant kind will be exterminated humanely. And of course, Cyclops says, I don't think so. And starts running, with Fantomex. And then the next screen, the next shot is a panel that I really, really, really like. And I wish, makes me wish Weapon 15's like design was better, because what's happening to this guy's thighs. But
yep.
It's Weapon 15 on the right hand side, just standing there saying, "What is the purpose of life?" And it's Wolverine on the left hand side saying, "Like what? What do you? I'm trying to learn about my history. What the fuck do you want, man?"
You caught me at a bad moment, And Wolverine here, also Black Pill Wolverine, because as we learn about the big conspiracy that was the fall of the X-Men in this, demoralizing them was always part of the plan, right? So he's do I look like a philosopher to you? And here Weapon 15 reveals something incredibly important that is just a throwaway word in the fucking in just a side thing that is actually key to understanding this entire run. Where Weapon 15 says, Dr. Sublime told me the purpose was to exterminate all traces of mutant genetics on Earth. And we're like, Dr. Sublime? We saw that guy die. One thing that I forgot about, I was reading about this arc after I finished it, is that there was a comic book that came out at the same time called Weapon X, which is not particularly good, but I read it at the time, and Sublime shows up in that as well, in a new body. So this is within this arc though, like this is the only hinting we're getting that Sublime can be in multiple bodies before the end arc, and it turns out Sublime can be in lots of bodies. Like Sublime can control a lot of people, and a lot of people we already know, and a lot of people we've already seen. Sublime is the threat, and it feels like, they would do more work to center that, like Sublime is the villain of this run. And they underestimated Sublime and thought they beat him, and he showed the audience that they beat him, and they did not. He's been behind all this horse shit.
Yeah.
And this is a really key hint about that. And it's like a little sideline. It's very easy to skip.
Which is good. I like this kind of like, cause you could, if you think about it, like we're reading these back to back. It's real easy to binge a comic book and like look over foreshadowing or look over like small details if you're just kind of, going through it. But in reality, like these books come out once a month, and I know as a kid, like I would get new comic books and I would read them like 5 or 10 times, maybe even like dozens of times before the next month, because I had a limited budget. Like this was my entertainment, right? Like it was, and it like having little things like this that you could pick up on are really cool. And like I had the same reaction you did of like Dr. Sublime. Oh wow, wait a minute, hold on, excuse me. It feels like they don't call very much attention to that because Grant Morrison really wanted that reveal to be like, because we're going to get the huge reveal in the next arc, and then the arc after that we get the even bigger reveal. Like I think he just wanted it to accelerate all that and not slow down.
Well, and what's weird though is the way that the storytelling is told, and this is not a reader's fault. This is the writer and the artist and kind of like the pacing's fault. But the bigger reveal in the final arc is not the one people know the arc for.
Yeah,
is not the thing that it's not treated as the bigger reveal. The next issue is the big shocking moment, but then the actual thing that happens after it that kind of explains it is kind of buried.
Yeah.
And it's really easy to miss that. And it's nobody, if you're listening to this, you missed it. I missed it the first time I read the arc. You're nobody's fault for missing it. It's not very well conveyed.
Mm-hmm.
So he says I could have been a painter, instead of being this, tool for genetic destruction. Wolverine, who's black-pilled now, is like, no, I found out what I am and who I am. Some people were born and raised to kill. That's the only thing they're good for. Everything else is a lie. You're asking me about the purpose of life, you genocidal fuck machine. It's like this, and then blows up the station with both of them in it.
I just want to, just in case anybody asks, it's not a genocidal fuck machine. It's a fucking genocidal machine.
Oh, okay.
Because a genocidal fuck machine is like a fetish. Don't get me wrong.
Listen, we've all watched Burn After Reading. We know what a genocidal fuck machine is. Yeah.
Why would you put it on a treadmill? Why does it have pedals?
Yeah.
So Wolverine hits this button, the whole thing explodes, and we're at the end of this arc and the end of this issue. I think you mentioned very early on that the first and fourth issue in this arc are your favorites, and I think I would very much agree with that. This one, I could have lived on this spaceship for a little while longer. Like I really could have.
Yeah.
It felt super rushed, and everything that happens for the rest of this run feels super rushed. Like I don't know any of the details in the backstory, but like at this point we're a couple of years into Grant Morrison running this, and I have to imagine someone at Marvel is just like tapped, okay, come on, wrap it up. Chuck Austin's waiting. We gotta go. We gotta move on.
Gotta make room. So Chuck Austin just did those. So he'd been doing Uncanny at the time, and he does those 2 little fill-in runs for this. But the weird thing that this is actually, and we'll talk about this in the wrap-up issue, but the thing this sets the stage for, actually, the thing that comes next is the Peter Milligan run. Of X-Men, which is exceedingly weird. I don't know if you've ever read that, but it is not. It's not particularly good. Like I love Peter Milligan. It's not particularly good, but it's really strange. It's an interesting misfire. So,
interesting, yeah. Overall, though, like since this is the last arc, or not, excuse me, this is the last issue of the arc. Like,
we're gonna end the podcast now.
Yeah, we're done.
We hinted at all that cool shit. We're not gonna.
We're pivoting back to X-Men Evolution, everybody. But this is such a failure in execution. I think because it's just. Or maybe it's not. I really have a hard time with this because it's something that I want to know more and more and more about, and you just don't get it anywhere else. Like the comic book pretty much just stops with this world stuff from here on out, and we go in a crazy, zany, different direction. And I do want more of this stuff. I really want more of this stuff, and I just don't want more of like Weapon 15's design, right? Like I don't need spikes on shoes to really sell me on a guy anymore. So
yeah. It's it's an interesting thing too, because it's like there is a skill to making me want more. Like I came out of this wanting to read a source book about it, but wanting to have like encyclopedia knowledge of this cool setup is different than like an emotional truth or whatever, like having that kind of like strong emotional or excitement reaction to this. I just had an interest reaction because basically it's almost like reading a big list of Dark Souls area names. And it's like, oh, I want to know more about that, but not actually getting to explore the level.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
yeah. that was this arc. We're gonna be back pretty shortly with a whole start of a whole different arc. A reminder, if you want to be included on our feedback episode, if you have some things to say about New X-Men, some questions you want us to answer, or it's just your own general experiences with it, you can go to daysoffuturecast.com, hit the contact button. You can also email us directly at dofcpodcast@gmail.com or DM us on Twitter at dofcpodcast. If you want to support the show directly, the best place to do so is patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv or leaving reviews on Apple Podcast. Boy, if I was good at improv, I would just make up a review that we've gotten recently, but we haven't had a review recently, so I can't make them up that quick.
Yeah, hear that, people? Get on it.
Get on it, and I will leave dumb reviews. I will read them on air. Maybe, I don't know. That's what I'm doing that day. But thank you for listening.
Take care
everybody.
until next time.
Yeah, bye.